What's up, guys? Alash Moko Kendama, and today we have an interview with Ty from KendamaMastaz.
What to do, guys? Thank you for tuning into his videos, his channel, and stuff like that. Subscribe if you're new. But yeah, we're doing this interview today.
Yes, sir. Before we get started with the actual interview, if you want to just give a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into Kendama and all that kind of stuff.
Honestly, it started from 2013. I remember it so sharply because it started when I started working at the store where it first originated from. So it's like when I first started working straight out of high school, it used to be like a little small shop, like kind of like a mom and pop shop for just like boutique and just like style and cool things and you know, just up to date like type trend stuff. But pretty much we brought in kendamas, and then I have to say the first person who introduced me into kendama was my boss, but the first professional player, or at least player that I met, was Luke. He's from OC Kendama, and he's been playing for the longest time. So that guy's a list. I respect him for showing me kendama, because without him, logically, I wouldn't probably be playing.
For sure. That's awesome, bro. And what year was this? Like 2013, 2014 maybe?
2013, yeah.
13. That's actually the same year I started playing, so that's really dope, man. I'm playing the same amount of time, so
that's it's like 7 years by now. 13.
Right, yeah, no, we've been playing for a minute, bro. We've been playing for a minute.
7 years, yeah, 7 years now.
All right, so as you guys know, racial injustice is a topic that's been sprouting out just because of quarantine. A lot of people can't really escape the conversation, and people are really just facing it. It's really in their face right now. And I really wanted to do an interview with a person of color Kendama player, specifically a Black Kendama player, because just like anything in life, they go through the same things in life in the Kendama community. It's not something that just goes away in the Kendama community. And I just kind of wanted to talk to Ty about his experience in the Kendama community with that. Just to kind of get into it easily, what are some things that you enjoy about the Kendama community? Let's just talk about that really quick.
A lot of the things that I do enjoy about the Kendama community is that it feels very similar to the breaking community. And for some of you guys that don't know who I am as like a person that's not a Kendama player, I am a break dancer, or a b-boy that we like to call it. So within the b-boy industry, there's a lot of like sense of like, there's this thing called cypher. Cyphers pretty much is just like a small circle, or just a circle in general, and just b-boys jump in and get hyped off of and feed each other's energy. Well, let's convert that to kendama. So it's almost the same thing. I mean, there's not a lot of ciphers, but we have our own version of ciphers, and we call that the Dama sesh, I guess. And it's honestly where we just all just, you know, it can literally just be 1 or 2 people. It can be 3 people, or sometimes it's just literally 5 of us just in a circle, but we're all doing tricks at the same time. So it's not taking turns, but it's really just all collabing and just vibing out. And that's almost the same thing as breaking to me. So it just feels like home. So I just really connected with this community that well.
That's awesome that you're able to find like something that you enjoy in the Kendama community that's similar to another community. No, that's really awesome. Just like a lot of communities, though, there are some, you know, problems, and not everyone you're gonna meet is like cool. That's just kind of the nature of being in any kind of community. I guess I'm pretty much trying to ask, so what do you do when you deal with different people that don't like you, and specifically when you feel like it's because of your skin color? Because I know as a minority myself, I know some people approach me and they approach me differently because of the color of my skin.
Honestly, like the way how I see it with the Kendama community, it's not that much that I feel that not a lot of people would feel that way towards any person that I've seen. But like I have seen it once before, and the way how I see it is just because they're just people that don't have that much knowledge. They don't understand, like, you know, history, and history does repeat itself, so that's kind of true. But what I mean by that is, like, you know, they don't understand history, that the fact that like all of that bad stuff back then, or like the whole racism and all that stuff, it's really been dealt with at its extreme point. It's never ended. It's still continuing now to this day, but it's in another form. However, the harder part of it has practically ended hundreds of years ago. Now we're in a whole new variation where it's like it's still happening, but it's so much less than it was 100 years ago. So personally, how I feel about it when I get people coming to me with a little hate because of my skin tone and racial, it just doesn't bother me. Because I think to myself, like, look, you may feel the way how you feel. I can't change the ignorancy about you. But however, as long as I know is I keep myself sane, and I know that I can be a lot better than that person, how they are, I have no worries, you know?
No, right, and I definitely respect that. I mean, I don't. You probably go through this outside your life a lot, and that's you've built like a tough skin through that. Do you think that we can get to a point where we don't have to build a tough skin? And do you think that's more ideal? Like, what are your thoughts on what the most ideal situation should be and how we can get there in terms of people's mindset?
As a mindset, definitely the more creative things that we do and keep things on a positive note, I mean, it's really positive. So for example, there's always going to be industries within anything. So first of all, Kendama is number one. That's always keeping the peace for a lot of things, right? Let's go into another industry. Same thing, breaking, right? We all, like as b-boys, are even contributing like, oh yeah, end racism with the power of breaking. There's also end racism with the power of filming. You know, there's always filming content. There's tons out there that I personally don't know, but let's just list an example for them, like the power of skating to end racism. The power of juggling, the power of creating cup mugs, those like art, I don't even know the name of those, but the ceramics, the cup, There's so many different genres out there, and I can't even list all of them, but that's just something to give you an idea. It's like there's the power of just whatever community that is what really bonds the peace and can actually keep a good mindset, you know, because there's a lot of people that are into those things out there, and it really does set the mood for things, you know. As a kid, watching like music videos of 2000 music eras, we grew up on that. So we all, like if you're from 1990, you grew up in the era where there's baggy jeans and baggy clothes, and that was a trendsetter, big time. However, in the 2000s, racism was really hard. So you can only imagine all the racist jokes right now in 2010 going above. Our generation, we kind of tend to hold on to that. But you can only imagine in the music of 2020, let's just say, for example, it became less of the racism and less of the crazy nonsense. Kids that are born in 2020, when they begin in 2040, they're going to not carry that genes with them because they never grew up on it. So it's a whole other term.
You're part of a Kendama company. So as you've seen other companies do what they've been trying to do, in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement, do you think that what they've done is good enough, such as like the fundraisers with the stickers and stuff, or just selling specific kendamas and then those proceeds go towards a specific charity? Do you think that's the best way to go about it? Or do you think there's an even better way for companies to go about supporting Black Lives Matter?
So to answer that question very greatly, I would definitely have to say, as long as they try, that's the best that they can do. So if they are doing some stickers for donations and stuff like that, and setting up things where it could contribute, then that's perfect. I don't shun them for like trying extra harder, because sometimes if they're even not in that ethnicity, so if they're not Black owned business, which we know some of them aren't, it's kind of hard to relate for us, or for them to, you know, contribute for us, because it's like, oh, I'm not in that genre. How do I contribute? I will try my best, but I can't say that it'll be perfect, which is fine, because that's all we need. It's just your best, you know, and that's like what we all really need. So I do appreciate a lot of brands that actually have done that for us. I know it's very difficult to do something like that. Again, it would be the same example if there was some crisis going on with maybe a different culture, and I'm not part of that culture, so I don't know how to really help. But as long as I can spread the word, or at least do a little bit of like, say, hey, buy KendamaMastaz to help this culture, I think that's all I can do. That's perfect, because honestly, it's like, okay, I'm not cultural part of that culture, but I can try my best to help that culture, you know?
Now that we've kind of talked about BLM and kind of your personal experience, do you see other like ethnicities getting kind of marginalized in the Kendama community? Have you seen any kind of racism or judgment by skin color while you're at a jam or you're at an event?
What I've seen in the Kendama community that's definitely been a change since 2015 to like literally now 2020 is definitely the savagery of how people could be in the community.
Right.
And let me explain about that. So if you guys either played the game Guitar Hero 3, or even watch Rock Band, or even watch how bands are when they're doing their concerts and how they are backstage and how they're very savage-like, well, I kind of seen that the Kendama community has kind of gone that way, and let me explain that in better details. See, when we went to NKO 2019, if you guys were not there, when came to that, it was really crazy the fact that a lot of Kendama players really kept themselves to be very thrashy. There was a lot of drinks on the floors. There was a lot of like trash everywhere in the hotels. And literally for just 3 nights, that hotel did not like Kendama players. And I felt like that was just the biggest, like, what happened? What things went wrong? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why did we trash the hotel? Why did we leave drinks everywhere, foods everywhere, just to hang out with friends, play Dama, and just be thrashy? You know, it's like, that's not what Kendama was really made, you know, because
Right.
I don't bash on skaters on this, but there was a point that skaters were kind of like that, and it made it to the point where a lot of people did not like skaters on the street.
Right.
So it's like, I don't want Kendama to be that way. A lot of people don't like Kendama players because we became thrashy, you know, but at the same time, I get it. It's a growing thing, but I do feel like that's something that I've seen the most, and I feel like that should kind of change, you know?
I definitely know a lot of people who went to NACO, whatever they're calling it now, in 2019, and they were saying the same things. And I think that's crazy. Kind of going into a different subject. So how do you feel about pro players in those kind of situations and their companies keeping them accountable at events and on social media? Do you think they're doing enough of a job? Do you think they're doing a good job? And to what extent do you think they need to, I guess, enter into a situation and like kind of take them aside and like tell them like, you know, this isn't cool, or like you're allowed to do this, but not this, because you're representing us?
Yeah. So the times that I have seen that, definitely the biggest times was at NAKO 2019.
Right.
That time, I did see some times where I even questioned, like, wow, like some companies did slip up on not keeping up with their, you know, their pro players. Now, again, I love all the pro players. I love all the companies, so I'm not trying to bash on them, but giving y'all examples about explaining, just make sure you keep in check with your companions and your pro players. Make sure they're not going too crazy, because, you know, as a personal life, there's a lot of things that a lot of people like to live double lives. Obviously, if you are a pro player or you're someone that has an influence to other people, there might be some things that you do personally that not a lot of people do, and you'll do that on the side. I'm not going to mention anything, but let's just say you'll do things on the side. That's your personal thing. That's what you grew up on. That's your life. And now you're living this persona because you have a lot of people to look up to you. You are an influencer, and now you're part of this brand. So it is something that I think these pro players do got to like watch out, like how they balance their things. And mix their stuff with their social medias too. Because I have seen some posts and I'm just like, you got like 9,000 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds like following you, and you're posting kind of stuff like this. Can be a little hectic, but you know, even I wouldn't do that. But
All right.
But definitely, I've seen it a lot, for sure.
Yeah. And what do you think companies should do in that situation? Like, what do you think the best way is to go about that?
The best way to go onto that is really to tell your pro players that you are truly here meaning business. Like, if you need to tell them, like, this is how it's gonna go, this is how it is, but if you go ahead and do something otherwise than that, if you break what we're trying to save, they could do a whole suspenseful thing where they can lay you off on the team for at least a good 2 weeks and tell you that you can't rep until you get yourself sorted. Because let's just be fair here. If you can sort yourself out first without having to rep them, I mean, that's fine. You know, you can still post all the things that you normally do. But, you know, if you're really going out of your hand and you're showing that this company is something different because of your actions versus that company's actions, it's very tough. And the best way to think about it is, a company was made off of one person's vision. Sometimes it can be made off of two, sometimes it can be made off of a group. However, let's just stick with it made off of one person, right? This person took their time to dedicate them to make you look good. So don't make them look bad.
And I think a lot of just pro players, any sponsored player, actually no, I'm gonna make it specifically pro players that have been playing on a specific company for like 2+ years. I think they're taking those kind of things for granted because they think I have this invincibility. This brand's never gonna let me go. I'm so good at Kendama, so that's what saves me from doing all this stuff in front of, you know, the people that are supporting the company I rep. And I think it's also a pride thing. And I think pro players need to like really let it go. It's really unfortunate. And it also is on the company's part. Like they are letting them be invincible, and they are letting them do whatever they want. And it's really unfortunate. So I hope in the next couple of years that companies, keep players more accountable as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. A perfect example for this, guys, too. Like you got to make sure this is really a thing. And I know this is in Kendama genre, but I promise you, in every other genre, stuff like this has happened before. And people's been kicked out of the teams. One other example, if you guys are not gamers, let's just say this: another company called FaZe Gamers. They're trick shotters, like first person shooter game players. One of them went to a competition, actually ended up cheating. I don't know the details of cheating, but the cheating happened and they got kicked off the team and they had to make a sorry video on YouTube, and that was for gaming. So you can only imagine what it's going to be like for skating, snowboarding, kendama, breaking. If you're sponsored and you're making things look bad, you could get that chance of getting kicked off or having to make an apology video to public. It is very serious.
What steps do you think players need to take to change their mindsets about, when someone or a company does something wrong in the kendama community, whether it relates to race, whether it relates to how you identify, all those kinds of things? What do we need to do as players to start accepting more people?
As players, for accepting more people, what pro players could do just to make sure they're checking up with their brand, as long as they can think like, is what this is doing, like what we're doing, is this right? Is it positive? Of course, majority of the time it is, but you always want to like facts your background of what you're about to do, or like, double check about what you're about to do, because sometimes the moment you post about something and then you just thought about like, oh, maybe this can be negative, and it ends up being negative, it's a little bit too, but definitely having some thoughts towards promoting how you want to promote things and just how you want to do things. As long as you think about it and just think, is it fair between a lot of people or a lot of ethnicities, or even if it's like a topic that like maybe it's targeting one genre or one person, or like literally a couple of people that do the same thing, and if it's targeting them too hard, just make sure you check to see if it's a fair thing amongst every other person.
In short, guys, really all we have to do, if you're a pro player, if you're just an unsponsored kendama player, just think about what you do more. And it doesn't take that much more effort or that much more time to think about, who am I affecting, and is what I'm doing worth affecting that group? Because a lot of the time it's not, and there's always going to be another way. It's ignorant if unsponsored players, pro players, anyone, if we just decide, this is what I thought of first and I don't really care. It's like, no, it's like, we're a community and we need to be thinking about each other. And if we're not, then what are we, So that's it for me on my end for the questions. Anything you want to kind of just wrap everything up? Just your final thoughts at all, man?
So in the kendama community, guys, like honestly, as long as we keep our positive note, you should be fine. We should be able to get through this. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe if you haven't to his channel. It will definitely help the algorithm of his channel, and we'll definitely most appreciate it. Go ahead and share if you can, and we'll definitely love that for sure. Keep kendama in the life, love the world of peace. Let's do it.
I just want to thank Ty so much for taking time out of his day to do this interview. I really appreciate it a lot. These conversations between everyone is really important. And if you don't know how to start these conversations, watch this video. I hope this video helps you and really lets you start having those conversations, or at least trying to. I'm going to have Ty's Venmo and PayPal in the bio / the description below. If you guys would like to donate to him, just for everything that he does in the kendama community, and for him taking the time today to do this interview with me. Hey,
I would state to you guys that donation would actually be going towards KendamaMastaz. So for new shapes and new stuff,
you guys be donating to KendamaMastaz actually. So that'd be really cool if you guys could do that.
To get back to you guys for this too, it's definitely would be meaningful if anything.
Respect this man a lot. This is Elash Mogo Kendama, and this is Ty from KendamaMastaz. We really appreciate y'all tuning in, and tune in next time for another interview. Peace out.
See you guys in the next one.